Welcome to Bible Studies for Curious Minds by Raj Sebastian PhD. If you like this video, will you please pause for a minute and click the like button and subscribe button below? Also, if you know people with questions and doubts on biblical passages and are curious to know the answers, please share my videos with them through Facebook, WhatsApp, etc. As a disclaimer, I want to say that I will be speaking from a Christian perspective that upholds the apostolic tradition of the Church. Today, we start our first session of this series with a discussion on Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. The verse reads like this: "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." One may look at the first phrase and ask to himself, in the beginning, of what? Therefore, it is important for us to identify the meaning of the word beginning before we go any further. In fact, a clue to understanding the meaning of the term is provided in the next phrase indicates that the author is speaking about the beginning of the time-space-matter universe in which we live. For a long time, atheists and a couple of other world religions used to argue that this universe is eternal and had no beginning. Bertrand Russell, an atheist philosopher, argued that the universe is eternal and therefore needs no cause. Among some followers of Hinduism also, there is a belief that the universe is eternal and that gods are born into this world in which they live forever. However, recent scientific findings like the Big Bang Theory and the second law of thermodynamics indicate that the universe did have a beginning and that the universe will probably have an end also. In fact, writing almost 2,000 years ago, 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10 predicted that this universe will pass away with an event very similar to the Big Bang. So, differing from some other major worldviews, the Bible teaches that the time-space-matter universe had a beginning and that this beginning was not accidental but the handwork of an intelligent being. The next important word we see in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 is the term, God. The author of Genesis is striking a good balance between two extreme religious worldviews. On the one side, the author distances himself from the polytheistic cultures prevalent at the time of writing and emphasizes that God is one, and not many. After distancing himself from polytheistic beliefs, the author proceeds to distance himself from the other extreme in which some worldviews and religions profess an idea of God in which he is understood to be a being of mathematical singularity. The author of Genesis does it by using a plural word for God in Hebrew language and then using a verb in singular form to indicate that it is one God. The unity and diversity within God are expressed in a brilliant way by the author of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 by the use of these two words. Elohim. The noun used for God is plural, and the verb used for created is bara. Interestingly, the verb is in singular form in Hebrew. The compound noun followed by a singular verb shows attempts by the author to explain something complex through his words. Elohim. The plural name indicates diversity in God and bara, the singular verb, indicates the unity of God as one being. Trinitarianism has been a progressive revelation in human history. However, when one looks back, glimpses of this progressive revelation can be found right from the first verse of the Bible. With this brilliant use of language, the author of Genesis negates polytheism on one hand and mathematical singularity or absolute monotheism on the other hand. The Christian worldview strikes a good and reasonable balance between the extremes of polytheism and mathematical singularity and professes a balanced worldview which maintains that God is one being in whom there are three persons. According to the Christian perspective of God, it should not be too surprising to know that the creator of this complex universe has some complexity within himself. If unity and diversity can be seen in the creation of the universe and in everything else that we see in the universe, why can't we expect to see some complexity in the Creator also? The Trinitarian worldview makes it possible for us to believe that God is one being, in whom there are three persons. Such a view also makes it possible to understand God as a personal being, with whom we can relate at a personal level. When we say that God is a personal being, we mean God has personal qualities like love, holiness, etc., in his eternal nature, even before other things were created. However, in the worldview of absolute monotheism or mathematical singularity, it is not possible to think of God as someone with personal qualities, as there was nothing else that existed for God to love before other things were created. That is the beauty of the Trinitarian faith, as it is more logical than other belief system, even though it presents a concept of God that is difficult for simple minds to understand fully. However, A deeper understanding of the Trinitarian faith and understanding the weaknesses of absolute monotheism or mathematical singularity will help us to see that the Trinitarian worldview is more logical than any other belief system in the field of religions. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 gives us a clue in understanding why Christian worldview differs from other ideas of God taught by Judaism, Islam, Jehovah's Witnesses, Oneness Pentecostalism, philosophical Hinduism, etc., that believe in God being a mathematical singularity. Christianity believes that the universe had a beginning, and it had a cause. The world is not eternal, nor are you and me a result of a chain of accidents. There is a creator and there is a purpose for our lives. Keep listening to this series to learn more about the creator and the purpose of our lives. If you have questions about biblical teachings or Christian worldview, please contact me at 4rcindia@gmail.com. When you know the truth shall set you free from all false notions and beliefs. Let's keep learning and keep knowing the truth. Again, please don't forget to like this video and share it. This is a weekly lecture series. You may click the subscribe button below to get a notification when the next part is published. Thanks for liking, subscribing and sharing. God bless you.